my top 7 favorite and most powerful PPC marketing hacks of 2018. And my name is Larry Kim. I'm the founder of Mobile Monkey and also of WordStream. And we've got a big audience here today. So basically, kind of let's introduce the topic. Pay-per-click advertising, it's kind of, nothing new here. It's actually kind of a dinosaur if you think about, what other technologies have been around for 20 years. The challenge here, I guess, is that it's not new anymore. So that means it's not like you can just start advertising and it's like you're the only one advertising for this thing. It's very competitive. There's 5 million advertisers doing this thing, and so that's problematic. The cost per clicks are ridiculously high. Even if they're not super expensive for you right now. I mean, the problem is this chart. It's just, on average, the cost per clicks are going up, 2 or 3% per month. And so if you just compound this, over, a year or 2 years, that just gets kind of very difficult because for every 1% cost per click increase, that's like a 1% decrease in return on investment for you or your clients. It's not just these Google search clicks, which can be $30, $40, $50 a click. It's also Facebook ads. Facebook ads are, 3 or 4 years ago were pretty cheap. In the last year, they've doubled or tripled in costs, and I think that's unfortunate because the conversion rates aren't changing. They're not. It's not like, oh, the cost per clicks were up, doubled, but we doubled our conversion rate. What we're actually seeing is that conversion rates across the board, across all the advertisers, hasn't changed in over a decade. It's still average conversion rate is around 2%, and so you're just ending up paying up, double the cost for the clicks and not converting anymore. And so today what I want to talk to you about is how to address some of these challenges. Is there a way to reduce the cost per click, or ways to improve the conversion rates in a sustainable way, but also like in a big way. So like not talking about little tweaks to, let's change the match types or something like this, like little silly little tweaks that get you like 1 or 2% changes. I want to talk a little bit about kind of my big PPC hacks for gaining 3, 4, 5 times improvements, not these tiny little 2% improvements. And just so that we're clear here in terms of the definition of what I'm calling my favorite hacks, basically what I'm looking for is specific things that you can adopt that have a lot of leverage in your account, that don't take forever to do, like low effort. I'm looking for unusual things, stuff that you might not already be using. Hopefully, some or all of these ideas are new for you. And then we're going to kind of talk about PPC marketing across the different, some of the biggest channels. I think it's Google Search, Google Display Network, and Facebook advertising. Those would be my top 3 here in terms of networks. Okay, so that's what we're talking about today. Before getting into all the details about all the PPC hacks, I just wanted to introduce myself briefly. My name is Larry. I am slightly obsessed with unicorns. I started a company called WordStream in 2008. It's actually the world's largest PPC software company in the freaking world, with tens of thousands, with gazillions of customers worldwide. Managing over $1 billion in ad spend for these customers. It actually started out just by myself working out of a bakery called Panera Bread because of the free Diet Coke refills and unlimited. They didn't kick me out back then. There was no time limit. For like free Wi-Fi. So that was quite an interesting journey. About a year ago, I started a new company called Mobile Monkey, and towards the end of after the hacks, I hope you'll stick around for an extra 10 minutes to get a demo of this product. Basically, it's in the chatbot space. So being able to converse with users via Facebook Messenger. Enough about me. Let's get down to what you signed up for, which is kind of what are my favorite PPC marketing hacks for 2018. And basically, we know on Facebook ads, this should be obvious to you guys. There's huge leverage in changing your cost per click by changing your engagement rates or your click-through rates. So if you're promoting a piece of garbage content with 1% click-through rate, well, that's going to be a $3, $4, or $5 click. But if instead of promoting garbage, if we can get that click-through rate to 7 or 20 or 30 or 68%, well, then you can get your cost per click down to 8 cents, 3 cents, 2 cents, or even a penny or less. So the question is most people understand this concept. The question is how do you actually get a 30% click-through rate? So I wanted to share my first hack, which has to do with, getting 30% click-through rates. It's kind of crazy. Actually, it's known as the Russian ad targeting method. We used by the Russians, in 2016 during the American election. Basically, I know this method works because this is a kind of funny story. A couple months ago, so in October of last year, so just about 6 months ago, it wasn't even 6 months, 5 months ago, I created a fake news website. Okay, so this is just a completely fake news, Citizens News Network. I just registered this on WordPress, and it was that the logo there. It's completely fake. It's like a backwards CNN logo, and this is a ridiculous, article that I just copied and pasted from the archives of fakenews.com, and then just put it in there. And I just wanted to do this as an experiment because I wanted to see what would happen if I created a fake Facebook page for my fake news site and promoted this fake content to a certain demographics and audiences that I thought would sort of eat this stuff up. Okay, and what happened was crazy. It was bonkers. Within minutes of promoting the post, and I limited the budget for $50. Okay, because my intent here is not to create fake news empire. It was just to run an experiment here. I just wanted to see what would happen. So I spent $50, boosted the post, and within minutes, freaking everybody in the world was clicking on it and commenting on it and resharing it. And as you can see here, it's see, wake up America, blah blah blah. So everyone is wanting to share this ad. It's got thousands of clicks, comments, likes, shares, etc. So not a bad deal if you're trying to drive engagement for $50. And basically, the reason why this strategy works and why what we need to learn from it is just this notion of cognitive dissonance. So this is this notion that people are very, 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 very extremely likely to want to engage with and share and click on and consume content and ads that sort of flatters their pre-existing biases. Okay, so I'm not suggesting that we necessarily create fake news for your company, which I think is a terrible idea. I think that's a terrible strategy. But what I am saying is that when you think about the content campaigns that you're looking to amplify or the ad campaigns that you're looking to run, you need to kind of think of those emotional triggers that kind of speak to an unspoken truth, if you will. So I just give you an example that has absolutely nothing to do with fake news. This was a story that went really hot in December of last year. It was it went bonkers. This thing was in the news and on all the radio channels, CNN, etc. And the reason why I think one of the reasons why this was such a big story was because it kind of confirmed kind of a hunch that every iPhone user ever had, which was that every time Apple rolls out a new phone, they slow down the old model, and it was an urban legend that was actually turned out to be true. And when that broke, this story went crazy. So this is just an example of if you can exploit these types of biases, then those are the campaigns that will get crazy. Crazy engagement. It could be pre-existing fears. Just you really got to understand your target market, and I think that's what there's the Russian interference stuff is terrible, but in terms of a marketing thing, I think they really understood human psychology. So now down to my number 6 hack today, which has to do with a inverted unicorn ad hack. Okay, my inverted unicorn ad hack. So this is a little different from normal uh, normal ad targeting. So by the way, we're starting in Facebook land, and then we're gonna do like Google Display Network, and then we're gonna do AdWords at the end. Okay, so we're moving through the different networks. So my number 6 hack has to do with the inverted Facebook ad unicorn ad method for tripling click-through rates. Right. So much of the success or failure of your Facebook ad campaigns, relies on getting those click-through rates up, not just a little bit up, but like 10 or 20 or 30% click-through rates. So the Russian method is one way to do this. Another way is the inverted unicorn. And so the inverted unicorn is kind of the opposite of what you would normally do in Facebook ad targeting. So normally what the conventional wisdom for Facebook ad targeting is to sort of cast a narrow net of people. Like, you're not trying to promote your post to everyone. We're just trying to promote the post to the small number of people who like really, really care about this stuff, right? So going after people with certain interests, demographics, behaviors, purchasing behaviors, that kind of stuff. Going after a very narrow, specific audience with your specific ad. So, for example, suppose you're selling email marketing software. You could sell this stuff to people who like email marketing, obviously. And then maybe that's too broad an audience because it's like, millions of people like email marketing. So what if we also went after people who also have marketing job titles like director of marketing or email marketing manager and this kind of thing? And so this is a very typical example of normal Facebook ad targeting, where you're kind of narrowing the circle of people that you're targeting, and then trying to get in front of those people. The problem with this is that it doesn't work often if you're like most people do this, like they're going after like very specific audiences, but they still get like 1 or 2% or 3% click-through rates. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like the universe is saying to them via the ad campaigns that it's just not that interesting to these people. And so what do you do? Do you make the circle even smaller? Do you like go after people who like email marketing and have job titles and work at like medium-sized businesses? Like, just keep on segmenting this to smaller and smaller audiences? And I think that's actually a mistake. That's kind of I call that over segmentation, if you will. If you're having this problem where you have these very granular audiences, you should consider trying the inverted unicorn. Okay, so the inverted unicorn is the opposite of what we were just talking about. The inverted unicorn says, rather than kind of narrowing the circle by going after these concentric correlated interests, like people who like email marketing and have have marketing job titles, inverted unicorn says, let's target two completely unrelated interests that have nothing to do with each other. Okay, so in the same example, we're going to go after people who like email marketing, and then we're going to overlay that with like people who like Game of Thrones. Okay, so like people who are interested in the Jon Snow fan page or the Arya Stark, fan page, as you can see here. You might be thinking like, Larry, this seems a little crazy. Why on earth would you target people who like marketing and Game of Thrones? What on earth do these have to do with each other? How is this a perfect buyer for me? And the answer is, these are completely uncorrelated, unrelated interests. Okay, they have nothing to do with each other, literally. But what's so interesting about this targeting method is that you can then create ad copy and ad creatives using the inverted unicorn technique that appeals to not just one of their interests, but actually two of their interests. So there's two forces that are compelling the viewer of this ad to click on this. Like, if you don't understand why these ads are funny, that's the beauty of the inverted unicorn. It's because you would have never seen this ad in the first place. You see what I'm saying? It's only going after the diehard, Game of Thrones fans who happen to be email marketers. So we've been trying out this technique, over the last year as a way to kind of boost click-through rates for kind of what I call kind of old industries, like where it's kind of like you're not selling drones or like like these hot latest things. Like email marketing, come on, it's been around for 25 years, so it's not like the new thing, but if you have this kind of legacy stuff, and you're trying to get good engagement rates, try inverted unicorn. The way that this works is it kind of latches onto something that's a little bit more trendy, more interesting. And what we're finding is that this generates a remarkably high click-through rate, and as such a very, very low cost CPM. So this is like $1.36 CPM, which is that's like 20 times lower than what you would expect to pay for this audience. So that's a pretty good deal. There's a lot of really interesting uses for the inverted unicorn. Like say you're running a marketing conference. Okay, you're trying to get people to buy tickets to your marketing event, your marketing conference. Um, you know, are you just going to promote it to like all marketers? Like that's pretty broad audience, and it's like not everyone's going to want to fly to your event to just listen to people talk. And so what you could do with inverted unicorn is you could say one of your speakers, like so HubSpot, one of their speakers was Michelle Obama. So you could use inverted unicorn to go after people who are like marketers and also fans of Michelle Obama. That's a very small niche, but you then showcase her appearance at this show, and I think that would be a very compelling offer. You see what I'm saying? You're taking kind of this boring conference thing and making it really exciting by combining the two different uncorrelated events, like that this is a person who is a marketer who also likes Michelle Obama, and that's something that you can't do on other platforms. Like this is like uniquely Facebook. Like what other advertising venue can you go after marketers who like Michelle Obama? It's like so this is there's so many different uses of this, like sports endorsements, like it's so funny. Like there's these like Adidas or Nike commercials where there's some athlete that's endorsing the shoe or the tennis racket. I have no idea who the athlete is. They could make that more targeted by going after people who understand who this athlete is and who are like sports enthusiasts or whatever. So many different usages of this. It's like basically it's trying to. There's a saying, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, right? So like we can show our ads to people, but we can't make them click. But by appealing to like 3 or 4 different interests, that kind of makes them more likely to click, I think. So that's the inverted unicorn. Just curious for any thoughts on inverted unicorn in Q&A. Just you can I have a screen here that I can see your questions if they come in. Okay, so my number 5 hack today. It's a Facebook Messenger hack, and so this is just saying don't bother with the news feed. Instead, just directly connect with users. Okay, so I want to just show you a little bit of some data here. So today, email marketing, because of all these crazy filters like clutter and in Outlook and the promotions tab in Gmail, it means that even all these emails that people have opted into receiving, like opt-in emails, not spam, opt-in emails are getting filed away in these dungeons, and so the typical open rates are not what they used to be. It's like 5 or 10% is pretty typical, and then like in the olden days we were trying to collect all these emails so that we could blast them, but only like single digit number of percentage of them will actually see these emails. Same thing with Facebook. So in the olden days we were trying to get people to like the page, so that we would show up in their Facebook newsfeed. But now the post reach is like, what is it, like 1% or 0%? So there's a way around this, and that's to use Facebook Messenger blasting. Okay. So what's Facebook Messenger blasting? So this is, just to give you an example, this is like a I actually blasted Neil Patel. He's like another marketer. I blasted Neil Patel a chat blast using Messenger, using my Mobile Monkey product. And if you stick to the end, like after the presentation, I'll do a quick demo of this product and how this works. But basically, I blasted him, and you see his little face at the bottom here. That means he actually read it. So I find this very amusing because he's kind of like a really sophisticated marketer, but yet I was able to get through to him um, because I kind of blasted him this message on Messenger. So basically, the rules of engagement of Facebook Messenger marketing is as follows. If somebody messages your page, like it's like someone goes to this page and send message to Larry, then Larry has the ability to message them back in perpetuity until they unsubscribe, basically. And so you have to honor those unsubscriptions, honestly. But I think that's really interesting because now the game, just like how the olden days we were trying to rack up likes and trying to rack up email lists, like I think you should be trying to rack up um, messenger contacts, like people who've opted into receiving your updates. And so what's so interesting about this is anyone who messages your page, you actually get all their information. So you get their profile photo, first and last name, their gender, language, location, country, etc. You get all this information from them from the platform. So even if this person, Alicia, just says hi to me via the bot, I get all this information from her, so I can kind of look her up and figure out what company she works for, and I can message them back using the blaster. So this is my Mobile Monkey product, and so. Yeah, this is just blasting. So it's like, I'm about to blast, 257 contacts of people. And so I'll show you how that works later today. But basically, then the goal of this kind of game is to get as many contacts as you can. And so there's different ways to rack up the number of contacts. You can just install the chat plugin, like on your website. So like a lot of people have like these chat plugins on their websites. But what's so interesting about this one is that it integrates with Messenger, and you get all their contact information and you can message them back. I think that's pretty valuable. Another kind of hack here is the adding an opt-in to Messenger checkbox button on all of your web forms. So like you probably already have like sign up forms and stuff like this. Just add this additional checkbox to the forms so that people opt into your Messenger updates, and that'll subscribe them to your Facebook page messages. So it's pretty powerful. I'll show you how to do that later. But that's right. So the PPC hack here is like, you should be using Send to Messenger as a ad campaign format. So like, see how most people who do Facebook ads, they're buying like engagement ads or click campaigns. And I think those are a total waste of money because like, even if you're buying these clicks for like $1, which is a pretty good price, only like 1 or 2% are going to sign up for the products and services that you're selling. And so if you run these Messenger ads instead, anyone who clicks send to Messenger, we're getting their information. That's so much more valuable than just, converting 1 or 2% of people who fill out lead forms on web pages. Now you might be thinking like, well, what about lead ads? Don't lead ads do the same thing? But I'm like, no, they're absolutely not the same as lead ads. When someone fills out a lead ad, that lead, like their name and email address and etc., it usually just gets sent to some it just gets stuck in the system and kind of goes stale. Like, nobody touches it. Whereas in chat, you can have your robot like engage with them, like chatbot, the robot can engage with them and get their information and kind of qualify them like right away. So it's like a lead ad that doesn't go stale. Okay, so that's kind of my number 5 hack for pay-per-click advertising. My number 4 hack today has to do with the unicorn slush fund. What the heck is a unicorn slush fund? Well, this is a innovation in the field of budget allocation. Okay, so this is really important because back in the day when Google was invented, they invented also this notion of a monthly pay-per-click advertising budget. Say it was $1,000. And you'd have to spend $1,000 every month, and it was kind of use it or lose it. Like if you If you spend it, then great. You can't go above 1,000. But if you spend below 1,000, then it's kind of like you don't get to any credit for that. Next month, it's like you start again with a fresh 1,000. And so, hopefully I've convinced you here that if you read any of my content, that like the performance of social campaigns, social ad campaigns is extremely variable. Like you could be paying $5 a click, you could be paying 5 cents a click. Okay, it has everything to do with those click-through rates, if it's a high click-through rate. And so basically the bottom line here is that a lot of these old concepts of budgeting, like the monthly PPC budget, need to be retired in favor of new, more flexible concepts like the unicorn slush fund. So the unicorn slush fund just says, like, if you have $1,000 to spend, the dumbest thing you could do is say, like, oh, we've got 10 Facebook campaigns, like 10 Facebook posts every month. Let's evenly divide the budget, $100 per post. I think that's ridiculous, because like 98% of these campaigns are going to go nowhere. What you want to do instead is have a slush fund. The slush fund just says you can spend as much or as little as you want, but there's no penalty for saving your money. Okay, so like, if say it's like March of this year and we still haven't found like a really great, piece of content with like 10% click-through rates to promote, well then just wait for it. Just wait until next month, like April, and then maybe in April we find some interesting piece of content to promote, and then what we could do is then deploy all the January, February, March kind of budget, towards this one April campaign. And I think if you do it that way, you're going to get 20, 30, 40 times more value out of your pay-per-click advertising budgets on social media sites, as opposed to just using it on to promote donkeys, which is like the kind of the dumbest thing you can do, because you're just going to be wasting you're pissing away your money basically. So that's the unicorn slush fund as an analogy. It's like a betting strategy in poker. Like imagine you're playing poker. Are you going to go all in on every single hand? Like that's the worst strategy ever. But that's exactly what the PPC budget is. It's like going all in for every single hand. What you want to do instead is kind of wait till you have a great hand and then move all in. So my number 3. Those hacks all had something to do with Facebook advertising, and so I want to turn our attention here to kind of like click fraud, and there's just, guys, believe it or not, there's a lot of click fraud out there. I think a lot of pay-per-click marketers are in denial. Trust me, there's a lot of click fraud, and it has the potential to deplete your budget really in a nefarious way. So the reason why all this click fraud exists is because Facebook and Google does these revenue shares with these publishers where it's like 50-50, we'll split the money half and half, and so these publishers then create fake websites to generate fraudulent clicks so that they can receive money from Google and Facebook. And so I want to talk about a weird hack that I've discovered that actually eliminates 90% of the click fraud from Google and Facebook. It's just a few settings. So in Facebook, it's relatively straightforward. This is just one of these cases where Facebook, you have to be really careful of the default settings. So when you're creating a Facebook ad campaign, there's this notion of placements. Placements is like, where do you want the ads to be placed? Like on Facebook, on Instagram, in Facebook Messenger, in the audience network. And so by default, if you click automatic placements, it includes this cesspool dumping ground known as the Facebook audience network. So this is a network of kind of third-party sites like apps and kind of websites that are outside of Facebook, that are based on these revenue shares. And so you really need to unclick the recommended automatic placements, click on edit placements here, and unselect these native banner and interstitial and rewarded videos placements in the audience network, because this is mostly garbage. It's about 90% garbage. Like sometimes people will say, "Hey, Larry, look, I've got like a 5 cent cost per click." What are you talking about? $1 cost per click. I get my clicks for 5 cents, and I'm like, let me take a closer look at that. And it's like 99% of his clicks are from like this garbage, audience network. So you got to really be careful about that. It burns a lot of people. In Google Display Network, so this is remarketing on the Google Display Network. It's a little bit more complicated because of how their interface is designed. They kind of bury it a little bit. So in Google Display Network, that's like you're doing remarketing or display advertising on a network of 2 million websites called the Google Display Network. It's basically every website in the world other than Facebook. And so the way that you do this is if you click on the Display Network tab in AdWords and then click on Placements, it'll actually show you the websites that your ads are showing up on. So like, shareyourfreebies.com or paperraiders.com or unfriendlytracker.me, like all this crap websites are actually showing my clicks. And so what you can do here is you can view the placement report, and it'll actually show you like, oh, well, your ads showed up on 48,000 639 websites, and you're like, which 49,000 websites did my ads show up on? And basically like like you just sort by cost, and it's like it's garbage. It's like this placement, fakereceipt.us, spent $139.58. It generated 22 conversions at a cost of $6.34. And so what's happening here is that click fraud has gotten a lot more sophisticated in the last 2-3 years. They're now based on AI and machine learning and even employ human beings. So this is a fake site, but it's generating conversions. So maybe either the robot is actually filling out the forms, or they're employing human beings to generate fake lead forms. You see what I'm saying? So it's got such a great conversion rate, and 8% conversion rate. It's such a low cost per click that the bid manager for the automated bid manager for this campaign is allocating more traffic and more dollars towards fakereceipt.us. Because it's like stupid machine learning like loophole. It's like it's doing great. Let's do more of it. You see what I'm saying? Like there's no quality check to see if this is real. Like let's take a look at fakereceipt.net. It's like, oh geez, this looks like a legitimate website. Not. It's like a made for AdSense website that contains zero content. It contains like 10 ads. It's just a WordPress site that was spun up in seconds. It's a domain name that was registered like 7 days ago. You see what I'm saying? And it has no content. Here's my number 2, placement in this kind of mess. It's coolmathgames.com, and it's not a very interesting site. It's just mostly ads, and again, it's like some strange site registered in some weird country that I haven't visited, and so. So the normal way to fix this problem is to do something called exclusions. So you go through your placement reports and exclude sites that you view as kind of, I'm not sure, this is not really a great site. The problem with that is it's just like a path to madness. So I've been trying to do this like manually, like excluding sites, and I've excluded, you see, like thousands and tens of thousands of sites. And like the weird thing is like every week another 7,000 new sites appear out of nowhere. That's because they were just registered by these spamming operations. So what I suggest that you do instead is that you use, instead of using automatic placements is like, oh, just like Google figure out where to put the ads on in the Google Display Network. Automatic placements is like, no. I want to specify a few number of sites that I want to show my ads on, and only show up on those sites like CNN.com or weather.com or Business Insider or Inc. Magazine. You see what I'm saying? Like high quality sites that are not like these made for AdSense sites that are just like these fraudulent, fronts for click fraud. And so what you do is you just type them in here. And then you choose target and bid, multiple placements, and you kind of put in the placements that you want, like Billboard.com or MSN or Engadget, etc., New York Times. Just one little trick here. It's like, this is such a tricky thing. You have to, as you're filling out the form, there's this like target optimizations. Let AdWords automatically find new customers. You have to uncheck that box, because basically what it does is it undoes your manual placements. So like even though you've just specified like the 100 sites that you're interested in, if you don't uncheck this box, it's saying like, just kidding. Even though you specified those 100 sites, I can still go after 10,000 other sites, including these garbage spam sites. And so that's basically kind of you'd be surprised. I bet you like 90% of advertisers don't understand this concept and are getting like taken. So make sure that you review the video of this and talk it over with your pay-per-click manager, because it's pretty high chance that you have one of these boxes checked. And so the question then becomes, where the heck do we find these managed placements that are good? The worst place that you can look for is the display planner. The display planner is like a keyword tool for finding website placements, like what are the different websites in the network. But the reason why this is such a terrible idea is because I just told you like 99% of these websites, of the 2 million websites, are like fakereceipt.us, etc. And other weird places. So this is just like an index of spam. Instead, what I would do is I would use like an SEO tool, like an organic search tool, like SEMrush. Why? The way that those tools work is they work kind of like how Google organic search works. They look for sites that have lots of links. Okay, so does fakereceipt.us have a lot of links pointing to it? Probably not. It's like probably zero, right? Whereas like the ones that have a lot of links, it's like MarketWatch, NASDAQ, Morningstar, Reuters. So I would just go do some searches for like top finance sites or top sporting sites or top news sites in something like SEMrush, which is a great product, and you just get export the list of top sites with the most links, and those are going to be the most authoritative sites, right? That are least likely to be these fly-by-night kind of fraudulent sites. So, and you don't need that many. Like even if you have like 500 or 1,000, it's better than having like 50,000 crappy ones. Just take 1,000 good ones where you're pretty sure that it's like a real operation, because why advertise on fake sites? Okay, so we're down to my number 2 hack. We're almost out of time here. I want to talk a little bit about RLSA campaigns only in search campaigns. Sorry. My number 2 hack has to do with RLSA campaigns and combining those RLSA campaigns with content marketing campaigns. Okay, so by the way, guys, if you have any questions, you can just punch them into the oh wow, there actually are a lot of questions here. Just a couple of questions I see here. I came in late. Is it being recorded? Yes, I can. I'll send you the recording, Michael. Some questions about GDPR. I'm not an expert on GDPR. We'll get to the other questions in just a minute. So we're talking a little bit about the number 2 hack, which is a weird RLSA strategy, remarketing strategy, where you combine remarketing with content marketing. Okay, so just in case you don't know what RLSA is, it's search remarketing. Remarketing lists for search ads. So normally on Google search advertising, you're going after like people who search on keywords. Okay, but what RLSA says is like, no. We're not going to go after anybody who searches for that keyword. We're only going after people who search on the keywords that we're interested in, who also visited, my website in the last 30 days or something like that. You see what I'm saying? So it's remarketing plus search, RLSA. The reason why this is such an interesting technology is because there's an enormous difference in terms of the click and conversion behavior of people who've heard of you before, i.e. your repeat visitors, people who visited your site and have high brand affinity, as evidenced by the fact that they've been to your site before. Compare that to the behavior of people who have never visited your site before, and thus, they have low brand affinity with your company because they've never visited you before, right? So what's the difference between new and repeat visitors? It's enormous. The click-through rates are through the roof. It's like 2 to 3 times difference, like 6% click-through rate for new visitors versus 14% click-through rate, for repeat visitors, like running the same ads, so and the same bids. So huge impact of click-through rates. It kind of intuitively makes sense because, you're going to tend to favor, like given a choice, you're going to favor the one that you've heard of before, in terms of who to click on. And in terms of the conversion rates, there's a massive, oh, by the way, like higher click-through rates means lower cost per click, so you'll get a discount. And also, it's not just the click-through rates and the cost per click, it impacts the conversion rates. So if you've heard of, if the customer has heard of you before, then the conversion rates tend to be 2 to 3 times higher because they have kind of pre-existing brand affinity. So if you multiply, higher click-through rates, that means more customers. Lower cost per click, that means lower costs, and higher conversion rates, that means better ROI. Multiply that through, it's actually 10 times better ROI. So remarketing for search is like kind of the crown jewel of marketing of pay-per-click advertising, in that it triples the click-through rates, it cuts the cost per click in half, and triples the conversion rates. The only drawback of this situation here is that it's kind of cutting back on the impression volume. So the impression volume is like, if you were buying 1,000 impressions on search before, and now it'll drop down to like 100. Typically, it cuts the impression volume substantially, because this is typically what you're doing here. When you're doing a remarketing strategy, you're only going after the people who've heard of you before, that dark circle there. And usually it's the case, unless you're like freaking like Geico or Nike. It's usually the case that there's more people out there that have heard of your business. You know what I mean? So remarketing, very interesting. It improves click-through rates, costs per click, and conversion rates, but kind of reduces the impression volume. But there's just a couple of things that I've learned here, and that's like, even though, so just a couple of weird truth bombs here, is like, even though you're cutting down your impressions by 90 to 10% of the impression volume, you're not going to lose 90% of your conversions. Because if you were to segment your Google Analytics data, like what you're going to find is like 70% of your conversions are actually coming from repeat visitors. Okay, so 10% of your ad spend is actually generating 70% of your conversions on average. So this is data that you can just look up in Google Analytics. I've looked at this up and kind of seen this pattern. It's like 80-20 kind of thing. Like I see this in every account. Put another way, 90% of your Google AdWords spend generates just, that incremental 30% of conversions. You see what I'm saying? Because you already get 70% of your conversions just by doing remarketing. To get that extra 30%, you're spending like 90% more. So basically, search advertising is kind of a waste of money when it comes to generating, like, going after new audiences who haven't heard of you before. It's much more efficient at converting people who've heard of you, and converting that pre-existing brand affinity into commerce, like into transactions and sales. So basically, what I'm telling you is that, based on my research, it's damn near impossible to convert people who haven't heard of you, that don't have pre-existing brand affinity via search ads, because of how the ad auction really punishes advertisers with low click-through rates, and with exorbitant cost per click penalties. I call this the death spiral. Okay, so basically, what I think here is, it's kind of funny. When I was younger, I thought, like, I could make search work for any account. It was like, I'm the hero. I can do this, right? These days, I'm older. What I realized is that, like, I thought a lot of the results I was seeing was the result of my hard work, but actually it was just a reflection of the pre-existing brand affinity for the client that I was working for. So, like, meaning, like, if you have Nike as a client, it's pretty hard to screw that up, because people are going to want to click on those ads, no matter how bad a job you do. The success or failure is kind of already baked into the equation, based on how much brand affinity there is for the company you're working for. So what I'm trying to say here today is just, taking it back to remarketing, it's just, maybe it's time, like, if you're struggling with search advertising and pay-per-click advertising, for a lot of my clients, like 70-80% of my clients that are new, or that I advise them to let's just do remarketing only. So meaning like, let's not do any search advertising or any Facebook advertising to any audiences other than the ones who've heard of us before. Because it's so much more favorable. Like the metrics of cost per click and conversion rates and click-through rates are just so much more favorable. Now, that's a little crazy because it's basically what you're doing here is you're going after, you're basically running as an analogy, you're running a sporting team that has only it only has kind of defense with no offense. You're only going after these kind of the people who've already heard of you. That's usually not a great strategy. But I'm saying, like, why don't you do this? Just only do remarketing, okay? And basically that'll by definition eliminate 90% of your spend, okay? Right? Like, this is kind of the old way of doing it on the left, where most of your spend was non-remarketing and about 10% was remarketing. I'm saying get rid of all that orange, okay? And then now redeploy that budget to kind of these PR stunts and content marketing campaigns that are really great at creating brand affinity so that we can have bigger cookie pools to remarket to. Okay, so basically the remarketing goes from 10% to about 40% spend. Why? Because you've increased the cookie pool size, by 10 or 100 times by doing these kind of social display PR stunts, which generate a lot of traffic. Okay, so let me just give you a couple of examples of this. So when I tell people to do this, they're like, okay, that sounds great, but how do I freaking get tons of traffic for free to my site via PR stunts? And basically, I just give you 3 quick examples of generating mad hits for free or very, very cheap. Okay, so example 1 is just like, oh my God, LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is just on fire right now. It's like if you there's this thing called broetry, like poetry for business or something, like broetry. It's basically double-spaced poems about work and life on LinkedIn. It's kind of like rapping, but for like LinkedIn. And so it's like, you tell a story like, oh, I hired somebody and this person was terrible and I had to fire them and blah blah blah. It's these ridiculous stories. People just eat this stuff up. Okay, it's just crazy. I don't fully understand why, but just try it out, and you can look at my news feed and you'll see. I started writing some broetry, and it's like going nuts. This is one here, like about my story about how I was trying to fund my business, and I got 100 rejections until I found kind of one who was like really willing to go all in on my idea. It's got 6,663 likes, almost 1 million views. Okay, so about 3% of those people who viewed this post actually, Googled Mobile Monkey, which is my software company, and they visited my website. And this was like a 15-minute post. Okay, it took me like 15 minutes to write because there's like a 300-word limit or something like this. It's very small. It's not like it's not even writing a blog post. But what you do is you write something on LinkedIn that talks about your brand or something, and then this generates thousands of visits to your websites. Now you've got brand affinity, and now we can remarket to them. You see what I'm saying? So I want to talk a little bit about like PR stunts. So remember I was saying, like, in the Russian ad targeting method, I kind of created this fake website just to see what happens. Well, the reason why I was doing that was just a PR stunt. I wanted to not only do the experiment, but I also wanted to publish the data, say like, this is what happens when you try to create a fake news account and promote it, and watch it go. Hilarity ensues. I just published some results, and it got 200 press pickups from Forbes and Newsweek and and Al Jazeera. 100,000. So 200 websites wrote about my story, and 100,000 of them people like Googled Larry Kim and Mobile Monkey and visited my website because they wanted to know who the heck this was this person. It was so popular that like Al Jazeera even did a feature film on me. It was like a 3-minute clip, and this got like almost 1 million views on Facebook. And it aired internationally, like, across the world 6 times. So this was a lot of exposure, and basically that generated a lot of traffic, which I could then remarket to. You see what I'm saying? So like, you got to think of in terms of like, and I know you guys are marketers, right? So like, you could totally write about like fake news and that kind of stuff because you're familiar with this topic. Um, the the um, the last example I wanted to share was just like trending news articles. So this was like in January, Zuckerberg wrote some posts saying like, you know, I'm going to cut off publisher reach on the news feed, and it was a hot topic. So I just wrote something up quick, put it on my Facebook page, and boosted it for like $500, and it generated, almost 1 million people viewed it. I think it has, because the catchy title, like RIP Facebook newsfeed for publishers, and there's like, it looks like he's delivering a eulogy or something. He's like wearing black, and it looks like pretty sad, and so that this generated 200,000 visitors. So basically, what I'm talking about here is like, you then combine the remarketing-only strategy with the content marketing strategy. Okay, so it's a combo attack, 1-2 punch. Content marketing is really great at just generating exposure. It's really terrible at actually getting direct conversions. So you try to get these people to convert to a sale. It's impossible. But, remarketing is the opposite. It's really, really good at taking people with affinity and turning it into a sale. It's awful at kind of, getting tons of new people for cheap. You see what I'm saying? So if you kind of take the strengths and weaknesses of the two and marry them together, this is what you end up with. You end up with a situation where the previous situation was like, it was like playing a hockey game with only defense players. But now what we're doing is we're combining content marketing to make that dark circle like 100 or even 1,000 times bigger by doing these PR stunts that get you on the radar. You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of the idea here. My last hack for today is the unicorn brand hack for doubling and tripling click-through rates, and this is pretty crazy. So we're talking a little bit about brand affinity and the impact of on click-through rates and conversion rates. And so basically, if you're only waiting for people, if you're only trying to get in front of people by the time they search for your stuff, you've already lost. Like you've lost, because they're going to go with the other company that they've heard of. So the hack is that we're going to have to do marketing to connect to our target audience a little bit earlier in the purchasing funnel. The way that I like, so for example, I sell chatbots and PPC software. If I just show up when you do the search for chatbots, I've already lost, because you're going to go with whoever you've heard of before, or hopefully maybe it's you've heard of me before, you pick me. But basically, what I do is I go after people who have like interests that are similar to the audience that I'm selling to, so similar interests to my target audience, but outside of the core niche. So for example, if you load your customer data in Google Analytics or in Facebook Analytics or in Twitter Analytics, you can kind of figure out what are their interests and demographics. Here it's saying 70% of my customers are very interested in entrepreneurship. Wow, that's a very interesting insight. 70% of the people who follow me on Twitter are interested in entrepreneurship. And so that is why I spend 20% of my marketing efforts and time and energy on creating off-topic content around the topic of startups and entrepreneurship. It's not because I have so much time on my hands. It's because this is a deliberate strategy to try to connect with people in my target audience prior to them entering a purchase funnel, like deciding that they need to buy PPC software, because that's exactly how marketing works. The whole purpose of this marketing is to create and promote inspiring and memorable content about yourself and your brand to your target audience, so that they become biased towards you and your company. They don't necessarily buy you right away, but later when the need arises, they will either do branded searches for your products and services, in which case you've won, or they'll do unbranded searches, but will be predisposed towards picking you because they've heard of you before. So that's my, the neatest thing about this hack is that by creating affinity, you're actually going to raise click-through rates. You see what I'm saying? And by raising click-through rates, you're actually going to make future content marketing efforts even more successful, because round and round we go here. It's kind of a virtuous cycle. Okay, so those are my top 7 PPC hacks here. I don't know if I'll send out the recording and the landing page, but basically, thank you everyone for coming. You know, we have like 2 or 3 minutes for questions. If you someone asked me, am I always wearing the same shirt? And I'm like Mark Zuckerberg. I have actually like 20 of the same shirt. So yes, it just it's a productivity hack. Like you save like 15 minutes for have to decide what to wear. So if there are any other questions, and just type them in there. If not, I wanted to just I just wanted to show you my new chatbot marketing software, if that's okay. This is it's kind of a big deal. So it's mobilemonkey.com. Very excited about this. I've been working for the last year on this. And basically, you can just sign up for a free trial here, or it actually never expires. But let me just sign in here. And basically, it will create for you a chatbot in 4 minutes here. Larry's real chatbot. So let me just delete all this crap here. So it's basically a way to create chatbots without having to do any coding. Okay, so let me give you an example. So Facebook so see this page, Facebook. This is my Facebook page. I want to create a bot that responds to people who are messaging my page. See how there's 15 unread messages? I'd like to be able to respond to them automatically. So we'll do that right now. The first thing you do is you link your page to your bot here. Okay, and then we create the content. So just like creating a website on Wix or something, like where there's like paragraphs and images, like there's just different elements that we can put onto a page content. So the welcome page is the first piece of content that somebody sees when they start messaging you on Messenger. And so we're going to create some automated responses here. So for example, you could just do something called a quick question here. Okay, the quick question could be, in case we're disconnected, can I get your email? And then just saving that to an attribute like email. And then just saying thanks, proceed to the main menu. In fact, I can say thanks first name, because Facebook gives me this information. So that's the welcome page, and now we just need to create some content. So we'll create a main menu. Okay, and in this just simple bot, we're going to just create a little bit of content. So this is like, choose an option below. Okay, add button. It could be like about Larry, and it could be contact Larry. So this is a pretty simple example. We'll just do those two things. Okay, so the About Larry page is that's just content. So it's something like Texas, like Larry is obsessed with unicorns. And we could add an image of a unicorn like this one. Okay. Just move this around. Add a button. Main menu. So just linking them back to the main menu and switching this around. And then the last thing I'm going to do is a contact page. Contact Larry. Okay, so this is a form. Okay, so contact Larry. This is basically can I get your full name? Okay, so save it to full name. These sort of things. So this is just like almost like a replacement for an HTML form. So add another question. It could be like and a number to reach you at ? Save this to phone number. Thanks. One last question. Add the question. Use something. So it's like and how can we help you today? Save this to a message. Thank you. Someone will be in touch soon. Okay, so then I'll just add some text here at the bottom, return to main menu. So main menu, add a button. So basically, let's just figure out what we've done here. We've created a welcome page that goes to the main menu. Okay. And we've created a main menu that has two options. Option one is just about Larry, and option two is contact Larry. Okay, so that's it. We're done. Let's test this bot. It's a very simple example, and what this does is you didn't have to do any coding, but it says, like, just in case we're disconnected, can I get your email? You see this? So the bot is interrogating me for information, and so I'll just, Larry at mobilemonkey.com. Okay. And now it's like, proceed to the main menu, choose an option below about Larry. And it says, Larry's obsessed with unicorns, main menu, contact Larry. So this is the contact form. Can I get your full name? It's Larry Kim. So it's like, this is sort of like a better way of doing PPC marketing because it works better on mobile for starters, but also because you need help with bots. Okay, so this is going to blow your mind, guys. Can you, on your browser, can you go to this page here? Can you go to www.facebook.com.ws.larrykim? Do you see this one here? Just pull up a browser, go to facebook.com/ws.larrykim and message my page. Okay, because I want to demo this notion of being able to message you back. So just please go to facebook.com/ws.larrykim. Well, thank you, Eliana. Anyone else? Thank you, Mark. Okay, see, I can see the people who are messaging me on my page. Please, just a couple more, please. Message my, thank you, Brian Jensen, Elizabeth. I appreciate it. Okay, so everyone just go in here and message my page. It's ws.larrykim. And what I can do here is I can create an audience. Okay, so I'll just create, view an audience, create an audience of people who attended the PPC Hacks webinar. You see what I'm saying? Add a filter. It's going to be people created yesterday. Save. Done. Okay. So there's 11 of you guys. If a few more just come in, I would appreciate that. Yeah, there is. So Paige Thomas, thank you. So what I can do then is create some blast let's create some content. So I'm going to just create a new group here. Email chat blast. You see what I'm saying? So create chat blast, and maybe it'll just be a new page that says blaster test. Okay. And so this will just be like new blog post. Okay. So I'll just upload a picture. Of course, I'll put a unicorn in it, and I'll link you to my Mobile Monkey blog. Last chance to get in on this. Just everyone, please message my bot here. I'm gonna send you this one here. So it's just, I'm gonna send you a button. Read the post. Okay, so it's a URL. It's just very simple. New growth marketing blog post. Okay, so you can just read the post, and that's a link. Okay, and I'll just add a button to the main menu. Okay, so this is almost like we just created a landing page, basically. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to blast you. So it's a new campaign. It's going to be called the PPC Hacks webinar, and I'm going to send you to the blaster test page. Send. So sending. And 11 of you will have received the blaster test, and you can see here. See, I'm blasting, all these people, Mark and Sean and is everything okay? So that's basically how this thing works. You can there's a lot more to this, but basically we're way out of time here. So these are all the context that came in today. Like I can see all your names and everything, and you can download the forms and view the analytics. It's really powerful stuff. So really, in addition to the PPC hacks, if you're available and you can try out this bot, I would just go to here, sign up page. It's app.mobilemonkey.com/sign up. So that's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining, and be a unicorn in a sea of donkeys. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Goodbye.